Today, I'll be talking on Microsoft Entra ID. My name is Oyimafu Emmanuel. I'm a modern workplace solution engineer and I work for Hashem Limited. And I want to use this opportunity to wish every one of us a happy new month. Welcome to the month of March. By God's grace, we are going to march forward. And I'm taking this training on behalf of the Nigerian Microsoft 365 Community Mentorship Program for the year 2025. Yeah, let's go. Today, my agenda is very short. I'm not going to talk about much things. We are going to do more of practical demonstration, but I just want us to look at these two agenda, which is we are going to be exploring identity. Everybody here is going to understand what is identity, and we are going to look at identity administration concept. So for some of us that are in the class, someone can just assist us in taking screenshots of the slide and dropping it on the chat. So some people that maybe might not be seeing my screen because of network where they are, so we could just share the slide so everybody can partake. First of all, what is Microsoft Entra ID? I would like 5 people, or let's say 4, to just raise up their hands and just explain to us what they understand about Microsoft Entra ID. I know the definition is on the screen, but I want to hear your own explanation so everybody will learn from what we all know. So I just want a raise of hand, please. The first 5 volunteers or 4 volunteers, a raise of hand. Okay, we have one person already. Okay. Rafiah, please, can you help me unmute the mic for Samuel Odenze? I think he's the first person that raised up his hands.
Yes, Samuel, you can speak.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So please, from my basic knowledge of the Microsoft Entra ID, I know that's the identity platform on the 365 suite.
Okay.
So we use it to manage identities of users and yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful one. That's a wonderful one. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's used to manage users and suits. So Paul, I think your hands was raised. Do you want to say something? Okay. Samuel, thank you very much. That's a nice definition. It's used to manage users. That's true. Microsoft Entra ID is used for user management. That's nice. So Paul, please, can you go ahead and talk?
Okay, good evening, everyone. So, my understanding of Microsoft Entra ID, though I've dropped it in the chat, is access management, access management of users and devices to organizational resource.
Okay, thank you very much for that. It's an access management solution. That's why I picked from your definition. Yeah, you could
Okay.
go ahead.
All right, no, I got a network breakup.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Paul. That's a wonderful definition. So we have another hand raised again. That's Temitope. Temitope, please, can you speak?
All right, my understanding of Microsoft Entra ID is a cloud native IAM solution that helps to manage identity and access for users, devices, and applications, majorly Microsoft based solutions. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Used to manage applications and users. Yes, that's a wonderful one from all the people that have spoken. That's what Microsoft Entra ID is. From the Microsoft perspective, it is a cloud-based identity and access management service that your employees can use to access external resources. Examples include Microsoft 365, the Azure portal, and thousands of other SaaS applications. All the definitions we gave was actually to the point and interesting because we're all saying the same thing. Microsoft Entra ID is more or less like a cloud-based identity and access management solution that you could use to manage identity. In the course of the lecture, we are going to look at several types of identity. We are going to look at identity concepts. We all are going to take that home and we are going to understand the concept of Microsoft Entra ID. So this brings us to who uses Microsoft Entra ID. One, Microsoft Entra ID provides different benefits to members of your organization based on their roles. So basically, the IT admins uses Microsoft Entra ID. What do they use it for? We are going to learn that today. From the use case that we have, you can use it to manage and control access to apps and apps resources, just like Temitope explained that you can use it to manage and control access to apps. That's true, based on business requirements. And if, for instance, you require to set multi-factor authentication to access some applications, depending on the organization requirements, you could also use Microsoft Entra ID to do that, which we are going to cover all that. If not today, tomorrow or next week, we are going to cover all that, but we are going to be taking it slowly, one step at a time. We're not going to rush things here. And also, for you to gain the powerful tools that could help you protect your users, you need Microsoft Entra ID Premium, either Microsoft Entra ID P1 or P2 license to get the full features of Microsoft Entra ID. Whereby maybe, okay, Rafiah, I think your hands is raised. You could go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for cutting in. Your screen seems it's not showing. We can't see your screen.
Okay, let
Or
me
am I
stop
the only
sharing.
one that can't see your screen?
Okay. Okay, let me stop sharing and let me stop sharing and reshare. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, thank you. So I was actually explaining who uses Microsoft Entra ID. IT admins uses Microsoft Entra ID to control access to apps and app resources based on business requirements, which we are going to look at today. And another set of people that use Microsoft Entra ID are app developers. So you could create standard authentications that helps users access application using single sign-on. You could use Microsoft Entra ID to actually achieve that. And the third option is Microsoft 365 and Office 365, Azure or Dynamics CRM online subscribers that uses Microsoft Entra ID. So you could use it to gain automatic access to your environments, to your environment tools, such as maybe your environment use Dynamics, they use Azure, they use any of the Office 365 SaaS apps. If you have identity that was created from Microsoft Entra ID, you could use this to access all those applications because it is integrated with most of the Microsoft Cloud apps that you have, not even most, all cloud apps. If you have an identity in Microsoft Entra ID, you could access all the applications within the Microsoft ecosystem. Just continue. The next thing we are going to look at is why use identity. I'm an identity, you are an identity. The first thing we need to put into consideration is authentication. Let's say, for instance, for a user to get authenticated, you need to be able to prove what you are or who you are. I say my name is Emmanuel Oyimafu at hashem.com. I want to sign in. I need to be able to provide a valid credential that could enable me to access any of Hashem resources. The authentication process is me putting my username and my password to get access to the environment. Then it travels down to authorization. Where the authorization comes in now is, okay, what can you do? You need permission to do something, right? That's where authorization comes in. If I sign in with my account and my manager sign in with her account, we have different permission level. What she can do and what I can do is actually different. For the steps we have here, how and where are authorization handled? Can a user access the resource and what can they do when they access the resource? Example, of that is, maybe for instance now, you're an admin and you were employed to be an application developer. All I just need you to do is to create enterprise applications. I could just give you application developer role. Someone that needs to manage the entire environment can be given a global admin role. That's where authorization comes in. What access does the user have? Then the next one is auditing. Auditing gives report of what was done. With Microsoft Entra ID, you can get auditing of what was done in your environment. You can track who does what and where and how. You could even set some alerts that will alert you, okay, when the user wants to access some rules, maybe if you're using privilege identity management, you could set some alerts that, okay, Joseph wants to request for exchange admin role, and this is what he wants to do. You can set those alerts for auditing purpose, and you could also use it for governance and compliance. While the next one is administration, which we are going to look at today, how it provides a single view management where you could manage your users, how you could use it for application of business rules, how you could automate request, approval, and access assignment, and for entitlement management. We're going to look at all this, how you could give somebody access to a specific role at a particular time to perform an action, which we're going to look at. But I just want us to get the concept before we go into the lab. And the next thing we are going to look at is administration. How identity objects are managed, whether manually or automated, over the lifetime of the identity existence. This is what administration provides. We can see from the slide here, we have identity prolification. One, we have provisioning and deprovisioning. You will agree with me that there are two things that are constants in organizations. Aside making profits, the next thing is user onboarding and offboarding. It's either people are coming in or people are going out. So you could actually use Microsoft Entra ID to manage provisioning and deprovisioning. Also, for identity update, you could use it for synchronization, for password management, for group management, for application entitlement management, for change control, and for user interface. From what it provides here, we could see that it gives us the agility to scale resources according to demand. You could scale your resources according to demand, and it also gives us cost savings through the distribution and automation of management. Aside that, it is also flexible around synchronization, change, control. This is what the administration lifecycle is all about. Provisioning and deprovisioning, when users comes into the organization and when they are going out. For identity updates, gives you updates, real-time updates of what's happening in your environment. Password management, you could set password management for your users. You could do global band password to allow your users not to use some specific types of password. You could do application entitlement management, and you could also do change control. So that's the administration part of Microsoft Entra ID. Now we go to management automation with PowerShell. Yeah. With PowerShell, you could automate a lot of processes and a lot of tasks. Maybe you want to create bulk users. Instead of you to be creating them from GUI, like go to GUI, you define the username, then after defining the username, you set all those things. But with PowerShell, you can actually automate all these settings. But before you use PowerShell, you have to install the module. The module has to be installed on your computer before you could use PowerShell, which once we go online and search for Microsoft Entra ID module, we'll see all the steps to install Microsoft Entra ID. And from the slide here, we could see the commands we could use to create a new user. We have add AD user, which is AZ add user. That's if you are using the command line. If you're using the command line, this is the command you use to create a new user. If you're using PowerShell, this is the command you are to use to create a new user. The command is new Azure AD user. You are going to set the display name. If the name of the user is, let's say, Peter, you're going to put it Peter Pius, then your password profile, and you configure all the settings as it is. If you follow the settings like this, you might get an error, but once you look into the error, then you'll be able to know where the problem is coming from. Probably maybe the parameters, some of them are not correct, so it's just to change them. You could also use PowerShell to create users, just like you could use the GUI to create users. That's just what this automation is all about. It helps you automate the process of creating users instead of doing it from the GUI. You use PowerShell to be faster and to get things done in an automated way. So we could just go. Now we want to look at identity and access management solution. Like we all defined at the beginning of the class, what is Microsoft Entra ID? It's an identity and access management solution. What it does, you could use it to manage devices. If you have external people that work with your organization, you could also use it for B2D, business to business collaboration. You could use Microsoft Entra ID to achieve that. If you have an on-premise Active Directory whereby you have a local AD, you could sync users from your local Active Directory to Microsoft Entra ID. And also, if you have some on-premise applications, you could also bring your on-premise application to Microsoft Entra ID, whereby users can access those applications just like they access Word, Excel. They can access their applications from Microsoft Entra ID and sign in with their Microsoft Entra ID credentials. And also, you could also use this to access the public cloud and SaaS applications, such as Microsoft Word, Excel, Outlook, SharePoint, and OneDrive. So let's go. So the next on the slide is, now we are going to look at Microsoft Entra ID architecture and terms. So this is just the definitions we have been seeing. I want us to really capture what is Microsoft Entra ID. That's why in all my slide, the definition is always there. It's a cloud-based identity and access management solution with integrated security and fiat architectural design. So first thing first, in the concept of Microsoft Entra ID, subscription is very important because without subscription, you won't even have access to Microsoft Entra ID environments in the first place. So the definition of subscription is you pay over time for services and feature. If you are using Azure, we know Azure is pay as you go, but for Microsoft Entra license, you need to pay for the license. You pay for it and you assign the license to your users. So the usage is you possess specific Azure cloud services needed for your cloud solution. There are many subscriptions, such as Business Basic, Business Standard, and Business Premium. If you want to go for enterprise, we have E1, E3, and E5, depending on your business. Then the next concept is a tenant. A tenant, like some of us, we have access to test environments, tech-tired test environments where we all go there, create users and all. That's an example of a tenant. Let me use a concept of house, for example. I'm living in my house. And the house I'm living, I'm not the owner of the house. I'm renting that house. In that house, I'm a tenant. My room is my space. That's my environment. If I want to cook it inside my room, nobody come and sue me that why are you cooking inside your room. If I want to buy all the properties in the world in my room, nobody sues me. That is an example of a tenant in this perspective. It's just like you are renting a space from Microsoft where you can use to manage your users. That's why the definition is it's a digital representation of your organization, like contoso.com, just like we have techtired.com. Techtired.com is a tenant. It represents your organization. Like some people will say, do you have a tenant? What they are trying to say is that, do you have your own test environment where you test and you do practice? The next concept is identity. For identity now, an identity is an object in Microsoft Entra ID that gets authenticated. Anything that gets authenticated is an identity. Example of things that gets authenticated is users. That's why a user is an identity. Then the next usage cases is used to assign rights and access to resources. anything you can access, assign right to is an identity. A group is also an identity because you could assign rights to a group and you could give access to resources to a group. So a group also is an identity. Again, an identity is an object in the Microsoft Entra ID that gets authenticated. Anything that gets authenticated is an identity. Then an account now is an identity that has data associated with it. Let's get the differences. An account is an identity that have data associated with it. An identity without data is not an account. Any account that has any identity that has data is an account. Let's say, for instance, now, an identity is maybe they just create an account for you. You could sign in, but you don't have access to any resources yet. You don't have access to any resources. You are just an identity. But if you have access to resources like SharePoint, you have created a lot of documents, you have stored it on your OneDrive, you have sent messages on Teams, you have now translated from an identity to an account, meaning that you are now an account because you have data associated with you. Then the next one now is now a user. A user now is a verified account associated with a person. Let's get the differences. You have graduated from identity, which is an object in Microsoft Entra ID that gets authenticated, to an account because you have data associated with you. Now, you are now verified. That means you can now be associated with a person. So the use cases is specific person who can be given access to resources. That's a user. You can't give access to a user that is not associated with an account. You can't give access to a user that is not associated with an account. And remember, for you to have association with an account, you need to be an object and you need to have data associated with you and you need to be verified. You need to be able to access, you need to be able to sign in so you could even get access to the resources that you are going to be given access to. So if you have questions, you could drop your questions on the chat. This is the last slide before we go to the demo. Now, I want us to understand something here. I want us to understand that even Microsoft 365 uses Microsoft Entra ID to manage user identity behind the scene. Although some of us will say we can create users in Microsoft 365 Admin Center, yes. You can create users in Microsoft 365 Admin Center, but there is a limit to how you could manage users in Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Microsoft Entra ID gives you everything about user management that you need to do. Even if you want to do external collaboration, you want to do multi-tenant collaboration, everything is done in Microsoft Entra ID. If you want to do hybrid identities, everything is done in Microsoft Entra ID. So Microsoft 365 uses Microsoft Entra ID to manage users behind the scene. So I'll be going to the demo section now. So if you have any question, you could just drop it on the chat. So we could just start up by answering the question. Let me just bring my, yeah. Okay. If you have any question, you could drop on the chat. So firstly, I want to access Microsoft Entra ID. So I will just there are many ways we could access Microsoft Entra ID. I'm going to show us one method that we could use to access Microsoft Entra ID. We will just say cmd.mx. So once we hit enter, it shows me all the admin centers that I could access, such as microsoftentraid.com and other admin centers, Intune, Sentinel, Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, and all. But today, we are concerned about Microsoft Entra ID. And another method we could access Microsoft Entra ID again is to go from office.com. Just hit enter. Let me not secured. Yeah, I'll just wait for it to load. I'll click on sign in. And I'm going to provide my credentials. So this is the authentication now is about to happen. So let me provide my credentials. Enter. And I will now provide my password. Let me just provide it. And sign in. Let me see if I'll get, okay. I got in because I've provided the right credentials and password. I'll now say no because I don't want the password to be stored here. So it will take me to my page where I could manage the environment. So here now I have admin center here. If I click on admin center here now, it's going to take me to Microsoft 365 admin center. So let's wait for it to load. Yeah, so it has loaded successfully. So now I'm going to just click on show all here. Then I'll see all the admin centers: security, compliance, Microsoft Intune, identity, Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, and Power Platform. But today we're looking at identity. That's Microsoft Entra ID. I will just click on identity and we are in to Microsoft Entra ID admin center. So I'll just refresh, probably his network. So we'll just wait for it to load. So it has loaded successfully. So I'll just wait for it to load the home page. So I could just show us some few things on the home page. So proceed. Yeah. Yeah, from the overview page here, we have different things that I want to point our attention to. Here now we have overview, we have monitoring, we have properties, we have recommendation, and we have setup guide. Under the overview, this is the name of the tenant, Precise Online Market, and this is the tenant ID. Sometimes you could be doing you could be creating an application and you'll be requested for your tenant ID. If you want to get your tenant ID, this is where you can get your tenant ID once you sign into Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center. From the overview page, you could get your tenant ID and you could see the total users you have in your environment, groups, application, and devices. In my own environment now, it's a small environment, like a test environment. I only have 5 devices. But in an enterprise environment, you have more than this. The applications I have is just 9, groups 32, users 37. And also, if you come down, you will see some scores. You have your secure score for identity. If I click on secure score for identity now, I'm going to see my score. Let me just click on it. Let me see if I'm doing well in that area. I'm not doing well. I just have 25.28%. So I need to do better. So let me go back to Precise Online Market again. So here, you could see a lot of things. If you have Microsoft Entra Connect installed in your environment and it's working, you see it here, enabled. But if you don't have it, you won't see it. So that's one advantage of the overview page. It shows you the list of users you have, the groups, the applications, and the devices. And most importantly, if you have Microsoft Entra ID premium license, you will see it here because that's the license you need to do most of the tasks. Like if you want to do privilege identity management, you need Microsoft Entra ID premium license. To do some great things on Microsoft Entra ID, you need Microsoft Entra ID premium P2 license also. And you are going to see your primary domain name here. My primary domain name is preciseglobal.com.ng. That is why it's here. If my primary domain name was contoso.com, it will be here. But because this is my primary domain name, that's why I have it here. So let's go to the next page, which is monitoring. Let's see what we have in monitoring. Yeah, so it gives me an overview of what's happening. So if I click on March 1st now from here, let's see where it takes us to. So we are going to see sign-in events. So here now we can see that someone signed into Office 365 Shell from Lagos. Conditional access not applied because I'm not using conditional access on this account. I didn't give this account, I didn't create conditional access, and for this particular in my environment, I didn't create conditional access. So if I have conditional access applied to this account, it will tell me yes. So the authentication requirement is single factor, meaning that I just provided my username and password and I got in. If it was multi-factor, that means I will provide my username and password and another level of authentication, like maybe using my phone, or let's say using my authenticator app or SMS from my phone. That's multi-factor authentication. But here is single factor authentication. So you could see sign-in logs here. So this is the IP address. If, for instance, now this IP address change, I'll wonder like, I'll begin to panic. Maybe something is happening, but since it's the same IP, then I'm safe. I've been the only one accessing my environment. So this is where you monitor user sign-in activities. I'm the only one here because basically I'm the only one that use the account. It's just a test account for me to practice and do some demonstrations like this. I'll go back to Precise Online Market again. Then from Precise Online Market, I will now come back to properties so that we could see something in properties page. In the properties page now, this is here, I could change the name of my environment. Your organization, maybe they changed their name. Maybe your organization was Precise Online Market before, they now change to Precise Market. This is where you can change it. You could just edit it. We could see here that I use wrong words. Instead of capital letter, I use small letter. So let me change it to capital. Let me see. Let me change this one to capital letter also. Then the country origin is Nigeria. You can't change it. That's why you'll be told if you're creating your tenant, take note of the region. Here now, you can't change your region. It's Nigeria, it's Nigeria. You can't change it except maybe you contact Microsoft support and you provide a valid business justification to show that, okay, you are leaving one country to another country. Then from the back end, they can change it for you. But from here, there's no button to change it except maybe from PowerShell, which I've not explored. It may be possible. For notification language, you could change it. If there were other options, I could select it. And you could also see your tenant ID here. Another one is technical contact. This technical contact now is maybe, for instance, if anything is happening in my environment, the mails will be sent to this My Outlook account. Everything will be sent to this My Outlook account. If I raise the support ticket with Microsoft and I did not put any email, this technical contact is going to receive the email directly. So I don't have a global privacy contact and I don't have privacy statements. If I have it here, then it's going to show here. And security defaults, if you want to configure security default, this way you could configure it, but we could see the notification here that security defaults are basic identity security mechanism recommended by Microsoft. When enabled, this recommendation will be automatically enforced in your organization. Let's say, for instance, you want to enforce MFA for all users in your organization. You could use security default, but Microsoft is advising you to use conditional access policy instead of security default, which we are going to see how we could create conditional access policy in part of our classes, if not today, but at least we are going to look at it. Now we come to, let me save this so that we are going to confirm if the name of the tenant will change. Let me just save it. Let me see if it will save or if I'll get an error. Okay, we'll just hold on. Okay, it has saved successfully. Let me refresh this page. Let me see if the name will update. Okay, it has changed. Formerly, it was small letter. Now everything is now capital letter, which is standard for best practice. So let's come to recommendation. Let's see the recommendations that we have here in our environment. So one thing I like about Microsoft is that in Microsoft, we never work alone because they will always give you recommendations on what you can do. Here now, they are telling me that migrate from MS Online and Azure AD PowerShell usage. They're already telling me that I should migrate. They are giving me these options, and the required license is even free, and I'm already using it. So with time, I'm going to look at this recommendation and work on it. From the overview page here, you are going to see, firstly, you are going to see the overview, which gives you the name of your tenant and the tenant ID, the domain, list of your users. And if you go to monitoring, you could as well see what's happening in your environment. I selected March first. I could as well click on February. So this is more or less like a graph. From here to the year, activities was going on regularly. That was why the map is going up. But from 24th to 25th, I didn't do anything. That's why it came down. Then from 26th now today, I worked. If I work tomorrow now, it will go up like that. But if I don't do anything, it will come down. If we come to properties now, we are going to see other settings here, like country, language, and we can change some things. If I want to change the technical contact, maybe for instance, I left this tenant, maybe I want to give it to one of the mentees, like they should be using it. I could just say, these are the things you will change. You need to change the technical contact so that you'll be the one receiving the notifications from Microsoft. Maybe they have new features or something is about, they want to like release some things on preview. You're going to get to this update. Yeah. So that's it for this overview page. Yeah. So for setup guide now, let's say for instance, you want to set up conditional access. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're using Microsoft, you never work alone. There is always a guide for you if you want to set up anything. Everything is online. Like my boss will always tell me, make research. If you make research, anything you want, you get it. It's just for you to work on it. And even if you get errors, learn from the errors, and next time you will get better. So now, if you want to do passwordless authentication, if you click on start, it's going to show you how to do it. If you want to do self-service password reset, which we are going to do in the course of this this Entra ID training, we are going to set up that. If you want to sync users from your org directory, they will teach you how to do it. This is all the videos for you to watch. If you click on any of this video now, it's going to teach you everything that you need to know. If you want to connect health for ADFX, if you play it, you're going to watch it. So my network is very fast this evening. I would have played one of all these videos, but if I play it now, it might drag the internet. So let me just leave it for now. But this is just everything in the in the overview page where you could see some basic settings. Then the next thing on the line is users, which we are going to look at right now. We are going to be taking all these things one step at a time. Once we finish with users, we go to group. From group, we check devices. We'll go to applications, protection. Under protection, you see everything we have here. We're going to look at them step by step. Identity governance, access review, privilege, identity management, like I was making mention of earlier. We're going to look at it. And if I click on show more now, there are still more things, but I don't want to show us more. Let's be going gradually. So let me click on users. Then I select all users. Let's see the users I have in my environment to start with. So let it load. So here now, these are the users I have in my environment. For the demonstration of this class, I'm going to be creating a new user in this environment where we are going to use to test authentication and authorization and privilege management. We're going to create a new user here. And I'm going to start with, if you want to create a new user now, firstly, I signed into Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center. I know most of us know how to create new users, but for the sake of the new joiners, that's why I want to just go over it again on how to create a new user. First of all, you click on all users. So let's wait for it to load. Yeah. So once all users load, you are going to see the users you have in your environment. You could delete a user and you could restore the user back. Let me just do a small practical. Let me delete one user. So we'll restore the user back. Let me delete Ochichi. Ochichi, sorry. Just want to use it for test. So I'll just delete the user. So this user has been deleted. Now it said user successfully deleted. I have other settings here like audit log, sign-in logs, head users, password reset, user settings, bulk operation results. But here now, I want us to look at deleted users because I deleted Ochichi and Ochichi did not do anything. I'm just testing and I want to bring Ochichi back because probably maybe it was a mistake, an accidental deletion. So I could just come back to deleted users here. Let's see if we'll see Ochichi here. So I have other users I deleted in my environment, but the only person I'm concerned with here is Ochichi. So I'll just come back and select Ochichi and do restore user. So if I click on restore user here, it will ask me, do you want to restore selected user? Because one thing, you always get prompt for everything you do. I'll now say, okay. We'll now wait for it to restore. Once it restore, I'll now go to all users. Let me see if I'll see Ochichi there. If Ochichi will be back. Okay, is Ochichi back? Okay, Ochichi is back here now. I deleted Ochichi before and I restored Ochichi back. And also, aside deleting a user and restoring a user back, I can also create a new user. So let me create a new user here. Let me say, if you click on create new user, you have two options. You could invite an external user for collaboration within your organization. When I was explaining, I made mention of B2D, business to business collaboration. You have external organization you work with. You could invite them to come to your tenant so they can have access to your resources in your environment. But here now I want to create a new internal user. I'll just click on create a new internal user right here. From here now, I have user principal name. So what the user principal name now needs is when the user wants to sign in, just like I was signing in, I said Oyimafu at preciseglobal.com. That's my user principal name. I'm going to give this user a user principal name. So the user principal name now, I want to give this user is, let me say I want to create Chuku. Let's say, which name am I going to use now? Let me say, think I'm not good with names. Let me say Parker. Parker dot Mike. This is the user principal name I want to give this guy. And if I collapse here now, I have other domains under my domain. From the overview, we saw that preciseglobal.com.ng is the primary domain. But aside that, you could have other domains. The precisemarket.microsoft.com is the .microsoft domain that came with the tenant. If you are creating a tenant, it always comes with a .microsoft domain. So it's always there. Then this one is a subdomain under my domain here, precisemarkets.mail.microsoft.com. And this one is another one that I just added for tests. I will just stick to preciseglobal.com.ng. But in some environment, most times, your manager also we tell you the details of what they want you to create. I will now come here. It automatically give it a nickname, Packer.mike. Then the display name here now is, if the user is signing in, how do I want the name to display? I'll now come here and say Packer space Mike. So that is how the name will display if the user is signing in. Then this is the password, auto-generated password. I don't want it to automatically generate password so that I can sign in with the password. So let me just say, let me use my own password. So you could say auto-generate password. If I check this auto-generate password now, Microsoft will help me generate a password. But in this case, I don't want it to automatically generate password. I want to generate the password myself. So I'll just put, let me use my, I won't show it, but I've already typed a password here. Then the next thing is properties. Let me go to the properties page. Here now, in the properties, that's where you now have options to put first name and last name. But first name, and if you don't put it here, you could still create the user. But best practice, it is important you put the first name and the last name. So I've forgotten the name, Parker Mike. Okay, Parker should be the first name. Let's see, Parker and Mike. Then this guy now is a member. I want him to be a member of my organization. Job title, if I'm employing him as a manager, maybe the person is a manager. Job title, I could just say modern workplace solution engineer. Modern workplace solution engineer. Then the company name, you could put the company name. You could put the department. If the department, you could just say, okay, modern workplace is under infrastructure. Infrastructure. Did I get the spelling where? Okay. Infrastructure units. Then if you want to put other settings like employee ID, you could also put it here. If you want to add a manager, let me say I'm the manager. I'll just click on add. Then it will show me users in my environment. Let's just give it some time to load. So we could add a manager to this guy. So let's just wait. It's taking time. So if you have any question, you could drop on the chat. I will be observing the chat from here, so I could answer your questions. Okay, this one is taking longer than expected. So let me just wait, hold on for it to load. Okay, finally, I have users now that I can make managers. Here now, let's assume I am the manager of this guy. I will just select myself here as the manager. Click OK and say select. So now it's already there that I am the manager of this Mike, who is a modern workplace solution engineer and is in infrastructure unit. Then let's see other settings. You could put your street address, the street address. So all these things are important. You put it at least so that your environment will be presentable. Maybe when you want to do, let's say you want to export users' information, at least you have things for your data guys to make sense of during their data. So usage location now, I can just collapse. I will see different locations. If this guy was in Argentina, I will specify Argentina, but we are in Nigeria, so we have to just select our country, our dear beloved country. So let me go down and select Nigeria, and we go next, which is assignments. So if I want to add this guy to administrative units, if you joined our last section, I talked about administrative units and use case. If you want to add this guy to an administrative unit, you can add this guy to an administrative unit. But in this case, we are just creating a user. So we just, and also if you want to add the user to a group, you could add the user to a group. If you want to add role, you could add a role to the user. There's a pointer here, which is make up to 20 groups or role assignments. You can only add a user to maximum of one administrative unit. This is what we should know. Sometimes in exam, they could ask, what is the maximum administrative unit you can add a user? Is one. You can only add a user to maximum of one administrative unit. So let's take note of all these small things. It can come out in exam. So we can just review and create. So we just create the user. Create. So let's see. They say the user has been created successfully. Let me see if the user will be here. Okay. Sometimes it's not show immediately. I may need to refresh the page for the user to show. So, okay, it's already here. Packer.mic. I just created a new user in this environment right now. So I want us to sign in with Packer. I want us to sign in with Packer. So let me open a browser so that we can just sign in with Packer and test something out immediately. Let's see, where is from? Okay. So go to office.com. Again. Okay, I'll now click on sign in. Sign in here. Let's see if Packer is a legitimate user of precise online market. I'll now come here and say Packer. Mic at precise. Let's go. What's an image? Go next. So let me put the password. I'll now go sign in. Since I'm signing in for the first time with this guy, he's going to ask me to change the password. So I'll just change the password immediately. Let's say and click on sign in. Let me see if they will accept my password. Okay, thank God, the password was accepted. Let's say no. This guy now have access to my environment. He's more or less like an identity. Why do I say it's an identity? It's not an account because it doesn't have rights to any resources right now. So let me just close this page out. If I click on apps now, I won't see any app because it doesn't have a license. It can't do anything. No permission has been given to him. So it's just an identity. It's not an account, it's not a user. It's just an identity. So let me demonstrate something with us. So let me go to the next page and just go to Entra Microsoft.com. So I want us to see something here. Let me see who is signed in. Okay, the person signing in is Packer.mic. Sometimes you may be on a call and maybe the person will tell you, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do this, it's not working. I want to know who is signed in. If you click on this guy here, it's going to tell you the name of the person that is signing. You will know that this person is Packer.mic. And if you want to switch directory, you could also switch directory. Maybe you have other directory that this guy that you want to sign into, you could switch. And also, if you want to sign in with a different account, you could click on sign in with a different account. So let me just make this page bold so I can increase the font so it could be big. Okay, here now we have this guy here who is Peter Packer. I want us to demonstrate something here. Let me collapse identity. If I collapse identity now, I'm going to see I'm going to see users. He's able to see users because of there's a setting that is on Entra ID that if I turn it off, a non-admin user will not be able to access my Entra ID like this. But because it's on, anybody can always come and access users in my environment. So I want us to see if this guy could create an enterprise application. So I just want to test. Let's see. Let's use that for a test for today. So now, what I just want to do with this lab scenario is I want to test authentication and authorization. This guy now has been authenticated. I want us to see if he will be able to do anything in my environment that relates to his role. If I come to new application now, on enterprise application, we have create your own application. It is great because this guy doesn't have the right to create an enterprise application. Right here, right now, I will give this guy an application developer role. Let's see if he will be able to create an enterprise application. So basically, I just want us to see that despite the fact that you are a user, there's limit to what you can do. What you can do makes you an account. An account is different from an account. You can't compare your manager's account and your account because your manager is your manager. So she has a lot of rights that you don't have. Let's see how we could make this guy create an application for this organization. Let me just minimize this page and make this one bold also. Sorry, I didn't even, my mind didn't go there. So let me just search for Peter Parker. Then I'll now click on him. Then here now, I have different things I can do on his account. I have his identity. I can see the time the account was created, which was March 1st, which is today. He's a member, group membership. He only belongs to one group. And that group is the all organization group that anybody that is in the organization always join this group. It's a global group that all members of the organization is automatically a member of the group. That's why it's a member of this group, because we didn't add him to any group, but automatically all members of a particular organization joins the global group. So let me just come to assign roles, because I want to assign a role to this guy now, so he will be able to create an enterprise application. So let me click on assign role. Let me see if he has any role assigned to him. So this is Microsoft Entra ID, like we're explaining on the slide, where you could use it to manage Microsoft Entra ID administrators. I'm an admin, you're an admin. We use Microsoft Entra ID to manage roles, to manage a lot of things that we are going to look at. So firstly, I'll click on add assignment. Let's see different roles. Yeah, from other assignments now, we could see roles and definition. The first one on the list is AI administrator. What does an AI administrator do? Manages all aspects of Microsoft 365, Copilot, and AI-related enterprise services in Microsoft 365. If I make this guy an AI administrator now, this is what he can do. He can only manage all aspects of Microsoft 365, Copilot, and AI-related enterprise service. Now, application administrator. What can this person do? He can create and manage all aspects of app registration and enterprise apps. And this is what this guy can do. And this is what I want him to do, because I signed into Microsoft Entra ID, and I was unable to create an enterprise application with his account because he doesn't have the rights and he doesn't have the role. So I will just check this enterprise application role. But before I go, I would like us to know that we have different roles. Application administrator, AI administrator. Sometimes in interview, they can ask you, can you name 5 administrator roles? Azure DevOps administrator. Billing administrator is the person that can perform common billing related tasks. Most times we have what we call, if you want to give somebody an administrator and a role, we all often follow what we call least privilege rule. If somebody is supposed to manage billing for my organization, I'm not supposed to go and give the person global admin. Global admin is too big for somebody that is just supposed to be managing billing. So that's why we need to understand these rules, so that if we are giving a role, we don't go and give a role that someone is not supposed to have. Like compliance administrator now can read and manage compliance configurations and reports in Microsoft ID and Microsoft 365. That's what a compliance administrator can do. Somebody that is not supposed to have this role to read and mind. There are some people that you only want them to see. You don't want them. There's the difference is when somebody can see, the person can touch, and the person can feel. But if you just want the person to be able to see, then compliance administrator role is not the best for that person. You could make the person a reader. But our key takeaway for roles is that let's try to know at least 5 roles. We have director reader, we have domain name administrator. This person can manage domain names. In some organizations, some people their work is just to manage domain. That kind of admin, you can just give the person domain name administrator, depending on the organization. So these are admin roles that you could use. A global reader, someone that can read everything that a global administrator can, but cannot update anything. You can be in an organization now and you are claiming that you have experience, you know the job. They won't just make you a global admin just like that. They'll first of all make you a reader so that you could see all the settings they have in the environment. Then you come up with innovation. When you are going for meetings and you're telling them, this is what I see, I want us to implement this, before they can then see, okay, this guy, it's like this guy knows this job. Let's make him a global admin. So those are the things that we need to take note of. But here, I'm making this guy an application administrator. I'll just click on add. So we'll just wait for the role assignment to add. Then we'll go and see if we'll be able to create an enterprise application with that guy. So let me just maximize this like this. Okay, it has been added successfully. So let me go back to the other browser. Let me pop it up. Yeah. So we are back to Peter Parker account. So let me refresh his page. Let me see if you'll be able to do anything. Let's see. If you'll be able to create an enterprise application. So we'll just wait. Yeah, we could see that it is now visible for us to create. Before, I can't even click on it, but now I can click on it because I've given Peter the role to be able to create an application for the organization. I'll just click on create. Now I can create an application with Peter. So in creating an application, there are different settings, just like the explanation I was saying about if you have your applications that are hosted on-prem, you could use application proxy for secure remote access to on-premise application. You want users to access your on-premise application. You could create an enterprise application for that on-premise application for secure access from enterprise application here. So now this has given us the fact that an identity is someone that can sign in, but authorization determine what the person can do. This guy now can create an application. Let's see if he can create a user in the environment. If he can create a member of the environment, maybe he'll be able to. Let's see. So he can create a user. The only thing he can do, he can invite an external user. And even this external user he can invite is because this my environment is not a production environment. In a production environment, a user that is not an admin or doesn't have any role is not supposed to be able to invite an external user from Entra ID. So it's just because this is a test environment, that's why. So let's not take it as best practice. It's not best practice because someone can go and invite somebody that is not supposed to be in the environment and the person can come and cause havoc for the environment. So let's just leave that. But that's for authentication and authorization. Let me minimize this guy. Let's do another thing. Okay. Let me come back to all users right here and now. So that guy now that I've given application developer role, the way we gave Peter, the way we gave Parker the role, I'll go over it again so that we're going to still understand it more and still see how we can assign role to a user from the user settings. So let's wait for it to load. Sometimes network can be funny, but just have patience for it to load. So let me refresh the whole page Let me see if that will be faster. Okay, I think this is better. So let's just wait. Okay, it has loaded successfully now. The way we assigned the role to Peter, we came to all users here. We scroll down. These are all the users in my environment. If I click on Peter Parker now, we have different settings which we are going to look at. So if I click on assigned roles, we added a role to this guy from assigned roles. So let's just wait. The settings is still loading. Let's work. Okay. So that's for role assignment. So now I want to remove the role I assigned to Parker because it's just a test and I don't want loopholes in my organization. So I'll just come now. I want to use a different method to remove the role. I could remove the role from the user settings here. If I want to remove the role from the user settings, if I click on the guy here, I can remove the role by going to assign roles here. So once it loads, from assign role, I could remove the role from here directly. But I want us to go through another route to remove the role so that at least we'll have different methods that we could use. So let's wait for it to load. Just taking much time. Refreshing me. Please forgive my internet this evening. I don't know what's wrong. Still coming up. Okay, so here now, since, but this was the way we added the role. We click on add assignments. Then from add assignments, we were able to select a role to add this guy to. So let me just cancel this. Let me cancel this guy. But from add assignments, if you want to add another role to Peter, you could select it directly from here. But I want us to even remove the guy from the application admin role. Okay, this is it. It has loaded. From here, if I want to remove the role, I could also remove it from here by clicking on the role and moving it. But I want us to remove it from where the roles tab is itself. So let me come down to identity governance this way, or let me check section. Let me do show more. Let's see. Because I want us to remove the roles. Yeah, roles and admin. So if I click on roles and admin now, and I select roles and admin here, I'm going to see those same roles that I saw the other time when I wanted to add a role to Packer. So let's just wait for it to load. So we'll remove the role from Packer. So now they are telling me that they are currently 11 privilege role assignment. It is recommended not to exceed 10. So I already have 10, I already have 11 privilege role assignments, which I'm going to work on later because it's not best practice. Microsoft is already telling me that it is recommended to not exceed 10. I'm going to remove it, definitely. From here now, if I click on application administrator, I could remove Peter from the role. So I want us to remove him from the role. So if I want to remove Peter from the role now, I'll just click on, I'll just come to, now I have two people in this role group. So let me see the first person here. The first person here is Microsoft 365 mentorship group. So, but I don't want Peter to be in this role. So I'll just come here and remove Peter from here because it's just a test. So you don't assume that it's already an application developer first. So if I refresh now, I'll discover that Peter is no longer here. as an admin. So let's just wait. Sometimes it takes time. Not time, sure. Network too can delay, but can as well remove again. Let's see. So the role assignment does not exist. Why I got this error was because I've already removed the role, but because of network and all, it wasn't loading. So let's just wait for it to load again. Yeah, it's gone because now Peter doesn't have the role. Let's go back to Parker's identity. Let's see if he has that role. So see the way we are navigating the Entra ID admin center. We are just going from roles and admin. We are back to users. That is how we work most times. So I will now come to Parker again. I want to confirm if he still has that role from here. So if I click on assign roles now, let's see if he still has that role. So just wait. Now, no result. The role is no longer here. The way I did the assignment was I came from here. I added the assignment. So what we are learning from here, from this demonstration is you could add a user to a role from the user account, and you could also go from roles and admin here to add a user to a role. Yeah. So that's for creating a single user. So now I want us to look at a scenario where maybe you guys have like 10 or 20 users that you want to create at the same time. And you can't go over it, like see the time it took us to create just one user from here. We put the user principal name, came here, put this, came here, went to properties, selected the department and all. That's a whole lot of stress if you want to create like 10 or let's say 50 users. That's too much. So for that reason, I would like us to learn how to do bulk user creation. The difference between bulk user creation is that for bulk user creation, you are creating multiple users, not one. The one we did, we just created one user. But I want us to create bulk users. Let me check if there's any question in the chat before I go for bulk user creation. I think there's no question. Okay, thank you. So, but if you have any question, you could drop on the chat. Any question is allowed. No question is a dumb question. All question is important. If you need clarity, ask. If I'm not able to answer you, I have my able mentors in the house. They can help me to answer the question. So you could ask your question actually. Okay, Madam Rafiah, your hand is raised. You could go ahead.
Yeah, well done, Oyimafu. Thank you so much for the class. So yeah, we have two questions. One says, under what category will managed identity or service principal be categorized? Under what category?
Okay. Manage identity now. It's more or less like you want to create an identity for an application. So that one will be categorized under applications because most times use manage identity is people that use it are those that create applications. So you could create a manage identity so that it's that identity that will have access to the application. So that's for manage identity. So I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes, you have. And the second one from Vusayo is saying, can we also access Entra ID from the Azure portal using an Azure account?
Yes, you can. So let me just demonstrate it that you can access Entra ID from Azure portal. So let me click on add a tab here and go to portal.azure.com. Let's wait for it to load. Let me just increase the page. So here now, this is Azure portal. So in Azure portal, you have the right to create several resources like Kubernetes service, manage Entra ID. Like you could do a lot of things from Azure. But the question is, could we access Entra ID from Azure portal? And the answer is yes. So if I come here now, because Entra ID is a service under Azure. It's a service under Azure. So if I come here and search for Entra ID, I have it here because it's a service like services. It's a service under Azure. It's a service that Microsoft Azure is offering. You could access it from Microsoft Azure portal. And also you could access it from Microsoft Entra ID. So if I click on Microsoft Entra ID now, let's see what it will give us. So it's taking me back to my subscription where I have overview, which was what we saw the other time. And this is on Azure portal, where we have monitoring, we have properties, we have recommendation and setup guides, just like we said before. And if you collapse manage now, you see everything. This one says, me, I even like working from this portal than the other portal because here, see everything, see good GUI, external identities, roles and administrator. The other one, roles and administrator was under, I was even confused where I was looking for it. It was under roles and admin. That's where you see roles and administrator. But on Azure portal, you have it under, just under manage completely. You could just see roles and administrator. So everything is straightforward here. You could see properties, you could see security, cross-tenant synchronization, licenses, you could see everything. So basically now, this is what you can manage. You could manage users, you could manage groups. That's why Entra ID is very powerful because you could do a lot of things in Entra ID. You could manage devices, application proxy, several things from Microsoft Entra ID. So I don't know if I answered that question. So we could proceed with creating bulk users.
You've answered the question very well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's proceed. You could keep more questions coming, so we'll answer them. We'll answer them. So here now, we want to create bulk users. In creating bulk users now, it means that I want to create multiple users. I'm putting myself in the scenario where my HR came to me and say they want to create 20 users and she need it done within the next 10 minutes. That's the time. And you know, if I'm creating it one by one, even if we are 3 in my team, I say you create 7, you create 7, you create 7. I now share the task because there's teamwork. What it means is that before that 10 minutes, we may not even finish because everybody will still be going from GUI one by one. Network may now be slow at that time. So let's see how we could create bulk users from Entra ID. From Entra ID now, I'm already in all users page. For me to create bulk users now, we have several options here. We have new user. We have edit. It's in preview. That's why I can't do anything with it. We have delete also is because I've not selected any user. If I select any user now, I'll be able to delete and do some other thing, but edit is in preview. So let's not, we may not look at it. So now I can also download all my users from here. If I want to download all my users, I can select all of them here and download them, download users. But what we're looking at now is bulk operation. So if you click on bulk operation here, you could do bulk create, you could do bulk invite, and you could do bulk delete. So for bulk delete now, it means that you want to delete multiple people. Let's say multiple people are leaving your organization. There was an issue, maybe not, maybe like they are done with their projects, they are done with their work, and you want to offboard them. You could use bulk delete to offboard multiple users from your organization. Then let's say you want to invite multiple partners, like they are more than 10 or 20. You could use bulk invite to invite them into your environment. For bulk create now, what it is that we want to create bulk users. We could see that Microsoft is not confusing us here. We have bulk invite. Bulk invite is when you want to invite external users. Why bulk create is when you want to create users in your environment. I'll click on bulk create. Let's see what it's going to do. So now he's telling us here that there is a warning here. Please beware of bulk operations. Service limitation before using this feature. Operations can only run for up to 1 hour and has known issues in large tenants. Click here to learn more. So this is just a warning that they're already telling me that operations can run only for up to 1 hour. So we'll just go ahead. What we'll now do is Microsoft is providing us a template that we could use for bulk operation. I'm going to download the template. So once I download it, okay, it's already done downloading. I'm going to bring this template to the screen so that we are going to see how we could use this template to create bulk users. So let me just go to my downloads and open this user creation template too. So let's wait for it to open. So it has already opened. So let me make this bold so that at least it will be big. So here now, I want us to take note of few things here. Let me expand this page. Let me expand this page. I want us to take note of something very important in bulk creation so that we won't fall into some errors maybe when we are working. So let me expand this too. And let me go and expand all of them too, so that we'll take note of something. Okay. So I want us to note something here. We could see that display name is required. User principal name is required. Initial password is required. Block signing is required. This always come out in exams. Microsoft will ask. I saw this exam when I wrote Microsoft 365 Administrator. They were like, what are the required parameters when you are creating a user? Username, most times they will ask, it comes in case scenario, like they will do some question, yes or no. If display name or username is not there, will it work? So this is what we need to know. Block signing is required. What this block signing do is that, let's take for instance now, you are creating a user that you don't want to have access immediately. You could say block signing, yes. What it means is that even if the user gets access to his or her credentials, the person will not be able to sign in because signing is blocked. But if you say no, meaning that the person will be able to sign in. Now, let's do something. We want to create bulk users in our environment. So I'm going to be clearing this because I want to add my own. So I'll be clearing this guy. I will leave password and I will leave this. So here now, there are things that we could specify here to make life easy for us. So if I'm too fast, you could let me know. So I could just slow down. Here now we have, let me maximize all this as well so that we will see the settings we could specify. Yeah, so there are still other things you could specify, but they are not required. If you don't specify it, it will still run and it will work successfully. So let's do something here now. Let's say my HR just came and gave me, like, you say, let's say, let me say Mike. Let's say Mike Jackson. Then the next person is, let's say, Paul. Let's say Paul Igwe. So this users has been given to me by my HR. So let me just put another one. Let me say Joseph. Let me say Joseph King. Then let me say the next person. Let me say Abigail. Let me say Abigail. Let's say Abigail. Abigail. Let's see, which name am I going to use now? Larry. Then let's say Fumi. Let's say Fumilayo Peter. So my HR gave me these names: Mike Jackson, Paul Igwe, Joseph King, Abigail Lanre and Fumilayo. She said I should create these users for her within the next 10 minutes. Let's say 3 minutes because they're already in the office and they have given them their systems and they need to sign in and they need to work. So what I'll do here is now that I'm using Excel. There are some things that you can do with Excel. There are some formulas you can run in Excel that will help you automate your task and make it fast. So I'm going to be introducing us to concatenate, how to use concatenate to merge different columns together and make sense out of it. So first of all, if you want to do this in your own environment, you could also always go back to the recording to watch the videos and you could take notes, like so that when you want to do it, it will be easier for you to do them on your own. Now we are going to click on formula. I'll put my cursor on this first row here. So I'll now click on formula. So once I click on formula, in my own case, I've used all this before. But in your own case, you may have not used them before. So just clear, then you type concat. So for concat, is what we use to combine different cells together and bring them together. So I'll just click on, concat is already selected. I'll click on go. So once I click on go, it's going to mark it. Then I'll now say okay. Here now is giving me options to concatenate. Like we could go online and check these functions very well. So we could even learn more on what the function can do. I want to concatenate cells. What I'll just do here is I'll select Mike as cell 1. Then, like the example that Microsoft gave us was Christ space green as example. So I'm supposed to have Mike space Igwe. I will now give space here. Then I'll come to text 3 and select Jackson. So if I do that, I'll now say okay. So here now I already have Mike Jackson. So what I did was that instead of me typing Paul Igwe, I just use concatenate to do it so that in case I have like 200 users, for me to be typing them one by one, it will take time. So I can just clear this, then use the plus sign here on Excel, then bring it down. So it's now going to give me the names of all the users. Fumi will not be left out. I'll just come down. It gives me Fumilayo Peter. So these are the display name of this user. Mike Jackson, Paul Igwe, Joseph King, Lanre, Fumilayo. I'm left with user principal name. I'm going to do the same thing for user principal name. What I'll do is I'll click on, I'm not really an Excel guru, but I just use this formula most times when I want to create like bulk users like this. So you too can just learn the formula so that at least if you want to create your users, you could also use it. So let me we'll click on formula again. Then we select, we can just go the same way, clear what we have. Although concatenate is already there, but in your own case, you may have not selected it before. So you just type concat, then you do go again, then you say okay. Now it gives us that same option. Now what I want to do is I want to combine this cell here, and after the cell, I want to use a dot in between, and I want to also select the second cell, and I want to add my domain name. So in this fourth cell, I will just say at preciseglobal.com.ng. So now I'm selecting 3 different cells. I'm selecting this first name cell, then I'm putting a dot in between, then I'm selecting the third cell, then I'm now adding my domain name. I will now say, okay, now mike.jackson@preciseglobal.com.ng. Instead of, normally I can just type it, mike.jackson, but I want to automate things so that this life will be easy for me and work will be faster. I'll just come down and say, select everything. Then it's going to actually give me all their user principal name that is required that I must do. Then here now, password. I want them to use the same password. Some organizations, they have their own password they give new users because finally they will still change it. So they have general password. So I will take this as the general password of my environment. Then I'll just do Control V, Control V. So Control V again, then Control V. So I've given all of them initial password. Then for block signing, I want everybody to be able to sign in except this, except the ladies we have in the house. So I'll just say they shouldn't sign in. I'll say yes. Don't sign in. I'll just put capital yes there. Then I'll come down and say yes. So depending, I'm just using this as an example, like some environments, they could say maybe some people should not sign in for the first time. So for job title, if you like, you could put job titles, you could put all these settings as the case may be, but I just want us to just go with this one. But normally in enterprise environment, the HR will give you their job titles. You'll not be the one that will give them job title. It will already be on the Excel sheet. Your own is just to copy and paste to the Excel sheet. Then use concatenate to create the user principal name and their display name just like this. So let me save this guy. So we'll go and upload it to Microsoft Entra ID. I'll just do file here. Then I'll do save as. Then I'm going to save it to, I'm going to browse to a location. So at least I'll be able to access it fast. Let me save it to desktop. And I'll just say M365 community users bulk users. Then I will now say save. So once I save it now, let me try to upload it. Let me see if it's going to work. If we get an error, we'll try to fix it. So let me just minimize these guys. So here now, upload your CSV. So firstly, let me go back, let me go over it again. I came to all users. I saw all my users that I have in my environment. Then I came here to bulk operation. I click on bulk create. I downloaded the CSV. Now that I've downloaded the CSV, I want to upload the CSV so that I will use it to create the users. I'll just click on this sign here. Then it will show me my entire files I have on my system. Then I now click on desktop. I have the M365 community bulk users. So there may be it may work, it may not work. Now the file was uploaded successfully. If there was an issue, it will give me the error, like it will show me the error message that okay, this is what happened. Why we can't upload the file successfully. So let me click on submit. Let's see how the operation will work. So it's already, imagine that I want to create those users one by one in this class. I would have not even been done by now. But just within the twinkle of an eye, we're able to just mix everything and we are there. And your account, that was how we created it. So we use this method to create it. Those are bulk accounts. So we can see that the account file uploaded successfully and file is ready. So most times we don't just celebrate that it has worked. We also need to click on this file is ready here so that we'll see the success of the creation. Sometimes some accounts might not even create. So most times it's good you download to check. Maybe if there are some accounts that are having issue, you know. So under bulk operation here now, we could see that there are some operations that we have done. The latest one is the one we did this night, which is M365 community bulk users.csv. If I click on it now, I'm going to see everything from the dashboard. So we could see that accounts enabled for some people is true and for some people is false. So from the Excel sheet, for the first three users, account enable was yes. But for the last two, it was no. So that was why we have false here. Then this is the object ID of these users. Let's say, for instance, you want to use their object ID for PowerShell scripts, you could use that. And this is their names: Mike Jackson, Paul Igwe, Joseph King, Abigail Lanre, and Funmilayo Peter. Then this is their user principal name. This is their given name. Their given name now is their first name, while their surname is Jackson. If we come here now, we see other settings. So that's how to track. So any user now that fails, maybe there's an issue, it will show you here. Account creation, fail. The status will be failed. So you will know why the creation failed. Then you will now go and look at it and recreate it. That's when an account actually fails. So that's for bulk user creation. So we can confirm if these users exist in my environment by just going to all users. Then from all users here, we are going to see we have a big girl here. A big girl is already here. Let's see if Fumi is here. Okay, Fumi is also here. And let's see if any of the guys, okay, Joseph King is here. So that's how to create bulk users in an environment whereby you don't want to stress yourself creating them one after the other. And you could also create users using PowerShell. But for this class, I just choose this operation because I know that it's more friendlier for us to use than, because if you want to use PowerShell, it's still the same thing. You create the CSV, then you specify all the parameters in your PowerShell. That can be an assignment for us. Maybe we could try to do the same thing using PowerShell. Then if you have any issue, you could always reach out. You could reach out to me on WhatsApp. You could reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will always answer your question if I'm available at that time. I may be busy when you message me, but once I'm less busy, for real, I will attend to your question and we'll look at it together and learn from the challenge. So that's where we are going to stop for today. At least I'm going to go back to what we have done before. So firstly, logging into the Entra ID page, you go to the overview page. Now I'm going to the overview page now, where you see your tenant information, the basic information about your tenant. If you are employed in an organization as an identity administrator, you don't need to be asking them, what is the name of your tenant? What is your domain name? You could just tell them, okay, give me access. You go and check, you get all those informations because you are an admin. Their tenant ID is here. Their primary domain is here. The license that gives them access to do some specific tax in Entra ID, Premium P2, they have it. You can see all their devices. And from here, you could even go to all these settings. If I click on groups now, this 32, it will take me to my groups. If I click on application, it will take me to my applications. Let me click on groups, let's see. So here now, it took us to groups. So these are my groups: M365 group 13, security group 13, cloud groups 32, and dynamic groups 3. If I go back now to precise online market, I'm going to see everything back. If I click on devices, it will tell me the devices I have. Let me even see if somebody is using my logins here to access their system. So let me see the devices I have. So here now I have 5 stale devices. Out of the 5, 4 is non-compliant, and that's bad. All my devices are supposed to be compliant. Unmanaged devices 3. So I really have much work to do in my environment, which I'm going to work on. Because it's not supposed to be like this. But this is how you view your devices. Just like we're explaining that you could manage devices, you could manage application, you could manage users, like our guys defined Microsoft Entra ID from the beginning. User management, application, just like someone asked, you could provide a managed identity for an application. Maybe you want an application to interact with Microsoft Entra ID, you could create a managed identity for that application so that you could, if you want to connect to Microsoft Entra ID, you will use that manage identity to connect to Microsoft Entra ID. You could do that. And also, we came to all users here. From all users, there are a lot of settings here which we are going to cover because we are going to look at external settings next week. We are going to look at a lot of things from there. We'll just be taking it one step at a time. We created a single user, which was where is that user again? Which is Peter. Where is Peter? Okay, Parker. So we created Parker Mike. Then when we created Parker Mike, we gave him access to roles. Like we added him to a role because we wanted to create an enterprise application. Since I've removed the role now, if I go back to Peter's account, we'll see that he's unable to create that role again. Let me come back. Where is that? So, so let me see. Yeah.
Hey, Oyimafu. Okay, I think Emmanuel is having a network issue. Let's just give him some few minutes to get back in. So I think so far, Emmanuel has been able to cover up his class, the topics for today, right? He ended the class with how to create bulk users. So he'll be continuing from there tomorrow. While we're waiting for him to rejoin, there are some questions that we have here. I see someone asking, um, okay, Victor, you're raising your hand. You have a question for us. Okay, fine. So I can see Omo is asking, can I download a newly created user? Seriously, I wouldn't say I understand your question, but your mentor is not even here. Joseph Afeso, if you don't mind, can you please, are you here? Okay, this would be a good
Yes, I'm
time
here.
for us to have you on the
I'm
call.
here, Raf. I'm here,
Okay,
Raf.
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. So Joseph is also one of the mentors, our MCT MVP. So Joseph will be answering all of your questions on behalf of Emmanuel Oyimafu. So the first question here is saying, can I download a newly created user? For example, can I download a user who was created the previous day? So can you help us answer that question, Joseph? Is it possible to download a user, a newly created user?
Okay, so I guess that particular point is talking about accounting where you have to download, do I call it accounting, where you have to like get a report of the number of users maybe in your environment, trying to see if you can download maybe unlicensed users, maybe you want to download licensed users. So what will happen is you can actually download the report of the users you have in your environment, and whether the user is created now or created yesterday is going to be among those users. But while you are downloading the list of your users, you can filter them. So depending on the category that the user is, so you can actually download the list of the users you have in your environment.
Okay, beautiful. So the next question is saying, in a situation where we have an hybrid setup, right? Will you, okay, where will you have to create a user on the AD before it now syncs to the cloud using the Entra Connect? So his question basically is it possible to create bulk users on-prem before you sync them to the cloud?
So from my experience, I'll quickly say that if you want to create bulk user from the on-premises environment, the option I have available is the PowerShell option. So I've not actually currently seen the CSV method when it comes to the on-prem environment. So yes, you can create bulk users from on-prem, but it has to be like the CSV format that it's being used there. So even though the list of the user is going to be in CSV, quite okay, but not the same way you upload it here. You have to reference the path where that file is saved on your local machine. Then it picks it up. So the file has to be, I think the file, even if the file is in CSV form, you have to use your PowerShell command to reference the path where the CSV is saved, and then it can pick it up from there.
Okay, beautiful
Yeah,
one.
thank you. I would like to add something to that.
Okay, Manuel, welcome back. Sorry, the network yanked you off.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Joseph, for that wonderful contribution. Like in the first part of the internship training, so we created bulk users on-premise AD, and we're able to use CSV. So I will urge you to go and watch that recording, because some people even called me to ask for the script, which I shared the script. And again, the person is saying that when you have to create a user on the AD, so for a user to sync to Entra ID, first of all, the user needs to be in an OU that is syncing to Entra ID, because if you install AD Connect or Entra Connect in your environment, in the configurations, there is a part where you specify an OUs that will be syncing to Entra ID. If the user was created in an OU that is meant to sync to Entra ID, for sure, the user is going to show in Entra ID. But if the user is not in an OU that is syncing to Entra ID, then the user will not show in Entra ID. So that's just for users to show. That's if you are using hybrid. And in an hybrid environment, you create your users on-prem in your local environment, then you sync them to the cloud. But for them to sync, they need to be in an OU that you have selected to sync to Entra ID. Thank you. So that's just what I wanted to add.
Experts talking. Thanks for that addition. Okay, I think the next question here is saying, can we access our M365 accounts from Azure account? Can we access our M365 from Azure account? Is it still applicable?
Yeah, I think that question is not direct, because I don't really
Get
get
the
where the person is
question.
going to.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
Joseph,
Busayo,
did you get the question?
yeah,
Okay, so
I think during the class,
I
Emmanuel
think
had confirmed. Sorry. Okay, go ahead, Joseph.
so if it is accessing the M365 users from Azure, when you sign into Azure, that the person actually means. So maybe it needs to clarify, because from Azure, you can actually search for your users also, your M365 users, and you'll be able to get them. But it depends on what you are looking for.
Okay. So the last question is saying, can you show us how to use Power Automate to create a user? I think that part has been, did Mr. Stanley cover creating a user or creating a flow? In your class, he taught you how to use Power Automate. So
Okay,
there are
so
two things here:
the
how
part
to
of
use
create
Power Automate to create a user and how to use PowerShell to create a user.
for Power Automate, that wasn't covered. That's just to clarify. Okay.
Okay, so he didn't cover creating users using Power Automate. Then when it comes to using PowerShell to create users, in the last phase of the class, you were taught how to use PowerShell. And I think your mentor for today has given you an assignment to go create users using PowerShell. So when you say you had an error after uploading successfully, what could have been the cause? If you check properly from your tenant there, your Entra ID, you see what caused your upload to for it not to be successful. So you check, you should see why, right, Emmanuel or
Yes, you're right.
Joseph? You see
You're
it there.
right.
When there's an error, you will see it in red. It will tell you what caused the error. Either the user already exists or you didn't put in the first the display name or the whatever it is that is the issue. You definitely see it there. So you just check for the error. So I think that answers all the questions for today. Omo, I want to believe Omo is a new mentee joining in. You might want to go through the previous recordings, and if you still need a one-on-one guidance on how to use the PowerShell, please reach out to Emmanuel. Emmanuel, please share your LinkedIn profile URL in the chat so they can reach out to you.
Okay.
Emmanuel is also in the WhatsApp group. You can check his contact. I think on the WhatsApp group is Oyimafu. Please send him a DM. He's always available to assist. Joseph still has one or two things to add before we call it a day.
Yeah, so I just want to quickly say that for those of us that are watching our content on the Nigerian Amplified Community YouTube, please try to subscribe to that channel. It's not supposed to be this slow at this point.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very important one. So far so good. I think we've been giving you guys back-to-back trainings. We encourage you that while we encourage you to watch the videos, right? The recordings, please do well to like, add your comment, subscribe, right? Share with your friends, those that have not yet subscribed. Tell them to watch and subscribe. It's not just that you are just watching, watch and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free, right? And when you subscribe, whenever a new video is uploaded, you get that notification. So you don't always have to wait for us to even share it in the WhatsApp group before you watch the videos. So you're asking me to paste the link to the YouTube channel. Okay, Joseph, can you share the link to the YouTube channel for us so we can have our mentees subscribe this night, right? Before we call it a day. So the attendance link has been shared. The Oyimafu's LinkedIn profile too has been shared. Connect with him. Ugoma, you're laughing, right? Okay, so connect with Emmanuel or Oyimafu. If Joseph is still here, let me see if I can get you that YouTube channel link. Would share in the chat. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to your mentors. Okay, beautiful. So this is our YouTube channel. Do well to click on the link now, subscribe, and yeah, you'd see all the videos, all the ones we did, the classes we had last year. It's all there. You can go through it or more. And yeah, I want to believe everyone now has access to their. You can't find the attendance. I just shared the link. Check. I just shared the attendance link now. Right? Oh, okay. I did not. Hold on. I shared it earlier. Let me share it again.
You're not paying me salary for this month. No, the judge is bad. Don't pay me salary this time.
One person with the personal reserve.
Can you please mute yourself? So yeah, I've just shared the attendance link. So you can fill that link, everyone. Just like Joseph said again, do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And yeah, that'll be all for today. Oh, Awal, okay, let's hear from you. What's your question? Hello? Awal, you can speak. Unmute yourself. Okay, beautiful. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for
Okay.
connecting. Yeah.
Good evening, Rafiah.
Good evening, Awal.
Yeah, I want to just to get a confirmation or clarification rather. For this class that we had this evening, so is it allowed for us to practice what I've learned into our tenant account?
Yes, that's the essence. That's the reason why you have your tenant accounts. That was why it was created for you, so you can always go back to practice, right? It gives you access to all of that.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to have a clarity on that. I don't want to overstep my boundary. Thank you.
You're very much welcome. Okay, so Emmanuel has also shared his YouTube channel. Do well to subscribe to his YouTube channel or watch the videos there. Everything is free of charge, just for you to stay, how do I put it now? Is it stay up to date with the M365 technology? Everything you need to know about M365. And I think Emmanuel is even going further with Azure. Yeah. So you can do well to watch those videos and subscribe. This will be the last one I'll be taking tonight. Oh, Madam Jumoke has been here since. Can you, hey God, please don't go, ma. I thought she said, oh, okay, see you guys next week. Oh, hello, ma. If you're here, we actually have Madam Jumoke here. She's the founder of the Nigerian M365 community, and unfortunately, I didn't even call her attention since I think she has to leave now, but I'm very sure she'll be joining us next week. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining. We can't wait to have you in our next session. So, Busayo, please ask your question.
The question I want to ask, actually, you didn't really, can you hear me,
She's
ma?
been hiding, obviously. Yeah, I can hear you, Busayo. What's your
Yeah,
question?
well, I'm familiar with Azure environment very well. But what the question I want to ask before, maybe now, I don't know, is possible you can before you can access your M360 account. If you have an Azure account, you can access it through from Azure before, but I don't know if they are separated. That's what I'm asking. If they are separated, you can. So M360 is on its own now. That's the question I'm asking that time.
Okay, they are now on their own. Everybody is on their own. M365 is on its own. Azure is also on its own.
You cannot access your MTCC through Azure account again like before, online before initially.
You cannot. But you can access your Entra ID within Azure. But you cannot access your M365 from Azure. Is that clear?
Yes, I'm clear with that.
Okay, then. Yeah, so that'll be all for now. Thank you all so much for joining. See you guys same time tomorrow, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., same meeting link. Do have a good night rest. Bye.